Planning a trip to China for the first time can feel intimidating, with new apps to learn, a different culture to understand, and not a lot of clear information for foreign travelers. Independent travel is getting easier, but it still takes a bit of extra preparation. This video is your ultimate checklist for what to prepare and what to expect in China, so you can have a great trip from the moment you arrive. Once your travel documents to China are in order, let's go over the essential items you'll need to plan for before you get there. In China, your phone is your lifeline. You'll use it for everything from ordering food to riding the metro, so having reliable data as soon as you step off the plane is vital. To stay connected to apps like Google, Instagram, or WhatsApp, you'll need a plan that bypasses what's often called the Great Firewall, and there are two main ways to do that. Option 1. International roaming or a travel SIM card. We personally use our US T-Mobile roaming, but it can be slow, so we've also picked up mainland China SIM cards in Hong Kong as another way to stay connected as soon as we enter mainland China. You can also look into eSIMs if your phone supports them. Option 2 is having a reliable VPN service. If you're using a local mainland SIM card or hotel Wi-Fi, you'll need a VPN. Make sure it's installed and set up before you arrive in China. We've used Let's VPN for our past trips, and it has worked well for us so far. But even with a solid connection, China has a different digital landscape, and daily life runs on a few key apps. So our biggest tip is set up your apps before you fly. You'll need a few core apps like WeChat and Alipay for almost everything: payments, transportation, and communication. Some features inside these apps may require ID or extra verification, and those steps may take a few days to process. Setting them up and getting used to how they work at home will save you time and stress. And if you plan to take China's high-speed trains, create a 12306 account ahead of time. You'll need to link your passport and verify your identity before you can book tickets online. It can feel a lot to navigate through, so we've put together an essential China apps guide to walk you through the process. Keep a note on your phone with the Chinese names of your hotels, stations, and attractions. You can quickly copy-paste these into your navigation apps or show them to a local if you get stuck. For example, this is exactly what I used to navigate to the Terracotta Army. Not all hotels in China are licensed to host foreign guests. Before booking, check the listing or message the hotel directly. On Trip.com, properties will clearly indicate whether they accept foreign guests. All foreign travelers must register their accommodation within 24 hours in each city they stay in. Hotels will handle this automatically at check-in using your passport, but if you're staying in a rental or with family or friends, you or your host must register at the local police station. Before you finish packing, there's a critical new rule to know. As of June 28, 2025, any power banks without the China Compulsory Certification or CCC mark will be prohibited on domestic flights within mainland China. If you're connecting to a domestic flight, make sure your power bank has a legible CCC mark or it may be confiscated during the security check. For example, even if you're flying in from abroad, if you have a domestic connection like Shanghai to Chengdu, your power bank may be inspected during the Shanghai-Chengdu segment. You can do what we did. We bought a power bank once we arrived in China since we had a domestic flight planned. As always, check with your airline for the latest rules on carrying power banks. If you find these tips helpful, consider subscribing for more China travel guides so you don't miss the next one. Now that you've got your prep sorted out, let's move on to the next part of the journey. What to expect once you're in China. You'll need your passport to catch trains, get into attractions, and check into hotels. Essentially, your passport functions as your ticket, so keep it with you whenever you're out. WeChat and Alipay are the main apps for payments in China, used everywhere from street vendors to the metro to high-end stores. QR codes are everywhere for scanning to order or to pay. Cash is accepted by law, but digital payments is the way locals pay. Even in major cities, English isn't widely spoken. Translation apps like Microsoft Translator, Google Translate, and the built-in translation tools within WeChat will help you navigate most situations. We actually found the best English speakers at Chinese brands that cater to international customers, places like Songmount and Two Summer, rather than at some international hotel brands. Be prepared for security checks at every subway entrance. Your bags, including suitcases, will go through an X-ray machine, and drinks and water bottles could be inspected. Security staff may ask you to take a sip of the drink to verify that it's safe. If you have a small bag, you can just show it to the staff without putting it through the machine. Be aware that items like knives and flammable liquids are prohibited. Some public toilets in China may not provide toilet paper, napkins, or soap, so have a pack of tissues and hand sanitizer on hand. Some places may provide toilet paper, but the dispenser is located at the entrance to the restroom, rather than in each stall. You will see two types of toilets in China: squat toilets or Western-style toilets. The stall door will usually indicate which one it is. If you aren't used to squat toilets and prefer fully stocked toiletries, head to a mall with international brands or in newer commercial areas. China has a population of over 1.4 billion people, so it isn't surprising that popular attractions can get very crowded, especially on weekends. There is a Chinese idiom, 人山人海, people mountain, people sea, to best describe the crowds as vast as the mountains and seas. You may see many tour groups, and it is common to hear loudspeakers at major attractions to help maintain order. It's best to avoid China's National Holiday Week in October, one of the busiest travel periods of the year. It can feel overwhelming, so it helps to know ahead of time that this is expected at popular sites. You'll often find warm or hot water offered in places like trains, stations, airports, and some restaurants. This practice is influenced by traditional Chinese medicine. Iced water isn't common, so if you want cold water at a restaurant, ask for 冰水. Arriving in China is just the beginning. It's the everyday norms that tend to catch travelers off guard. To help you blend in, here are a few cultural differences to be ready for. The concept of personal space works differently in China. People may stand quite close to you, especially in crowded places or in queues, which can feel different from what some foreigners are used to. You may also notice a few public behavior norms that may feel unfamiliar. In some outdoor areas, you may notice people spitting. It's less common in major cities now, but can still happen in open public spaces. You may also notice that smoking is prevalent in China. At stops along the high-speed rail, it's common to see people getting off for a quick smoke break. Although smoking is prohibited in most indoor public spaces, you may still see smoking inside restaurants depending on local enforcement. Foreigners may attract some stares or be asked for a photo in places that don't see many international visitors. Even in big cities, you may still meet domestic tourists from regions who aren't used to seeing foreign travelers. And if someone asks for a photo, you can say yes or politely decline. For visitors, some of these cultural differences may take a moment to get used to. But it's important to remember that embracing differences is part of what makes travel a meaningful learning experience. You've gotten an idea of what to expect when you get to China, so there is one more important thing you need. It's having the right mindset. So let's talk about what can make everything feel less overwhelming. As a female traveler, I've found China to feel very safe. Whether I'm walking through quiet side streets or exploring the busy city centers at night, I haven't felt worried about crime. Just use the same common sense you would anywhere else in the world. Don't let the language barrier scare you. People were patient and very helpful in our experience even with the language barrier, especially when you make an effort to communicate a few basic words in Chinese. Go with an open mind and be flexible. Traveling is about experiencing a different way of life and trying things that might be outside your comfort zone. You'll find your bearings quicker than you expect. And sometimes things won't work as expected, like an app failing to scan a QR code, which happened to us in Chengdu. But small hiccups like that are a part of the adventure, and there's almost always a workaround if you stay calm. With the right preparation and mindset, you're ready and confident to travel to China. We hope these tips make your trip to China smooth and memorable. If you have any questions as you plan your trip, drop them in the comments. We'll love to help you out. And if you'd like to see more step-by-step travel guides to China, consider subscribing to this channel. Thanks for watching and happy travels!